What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Fans FC. And today's a very special episode. It's actually our first guest we're bringing on the FC show. And it is a awesome podcast that follows the current MLS reigning champions, Columbus Crew. And it is new to the crew with Pete and Melissa. Why don't you introduce yourselves to the show?
Hey guys, thanks so much. I didn't realize we were the first guests. That's quite an honor.
Yeah, well, for the FC show, yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, we do a standard like American sports show, and then this is our Real Fans FC that we started this year. So you guys are actually our first guests bringing on. Yeah, but Adam, how you feeling today? I almost disregarded him.
I'm feeling good. You know, we had a fun day at the office. You know, nothing really much to do except fix internet issues and watch some soccer. So that was nice having it on. Got to catch a little bit today. Saw that Tottenham ended up winning. I do have them on a bet.
I put my hat on just for you, Adam. So I heard you were an Arsenal fan. I thought you should see that.
I did bet on you guys. So so far it's going well.
There you go.
Yeah, Adam told me before you guys came on that he purposely wanted to wear all his Arsenal stuff and put on. I was like, you know what? In the background.
No, come on now. I've had that, man. I've had that.
Yeah. No, he just put it up. I swear.
I brag about that shit all the time.
I was going to do the same this end, but we figured we should turn up mostly in crew stuff, seeing as that's who we're here to talk about.
Hey, Julian's always repping the Inter Miami. I always switch it up. I go back and forth. Because I do. You know, I've been following. I mean, obviously Arsenal longer than Inter Miami. I mean, we've been around longer, so I know a lot more about us. So you know, if we consider ourselves, that we can talk a little bit more in depth about Inter Miami, then I can definitely talk in depth about Arsenal. So that's why I don't mind repping.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but so basically. What was like the game day experience for you guys going out to the game today? I did see some footage like on social media between like I guess LA fans came out big, and then they did like a march down, and then so did the crew, and it looked like a really awesome experience. I guess like kind of walk us through like what the game day was like going over there.
Okay, well, first the biggest changes you just said the LA fans were there because we're season ticket holders. It's our first season at the crew. That's why we created the podcast, new to the crew. And we went to, I think, like 14 out of 17 home games. And there's never an away presence. And if there is, it's minimal. But for the MLS Cup final, you've got, I don't know how many people there were, a couple of thousand.
Yeah, they had a good turnout.
A couple of thousand fans there. Wow. And they're in like their downtown area from like midday. They're in a different section to the other crew fans. And
we actually stumbled across them before we found our own fans, and we were like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, and my English brain switched on. I was like, we can't go down there because they might keep us down.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So we avoided that, but they really added to the atmosphere, like even before the game.
Yeah, and I'll give them credit during the game too. Like when they were down 2 goals, they did not stop chanting. They were doing like synchronized things with lights. I don't know exactly what it was, but they did not give up that whole game, and they created a really good atmosphere.
I guess if you fly in from the West Coast and it's that big a game, you might as well make the most of it. And they did. They partied till the end, so fair play to them. But from the crew's perspective, I mean, we feel the atmosphere is usually pretty good. The Nordecker is where our hardcore fans sit. That's where we'll be next season. Oh, sorry, they standing. But the whole place felt like the Nordecker on this occasion. We were on the east stand in the upper tier, and we took our seats expecting to sit. And from kickoff through to the end, no one sat down. It was everyone sat. It was like a European atmosphere, and I think having away fans there makes the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really sick. So you guys don't really get a lot of fans for the Cincinnati games?
Cincy at home. Well, we didn't go to Cincy at home game. That's one of the 3 we missed. But we went to Cincy away.
Okay.
And what do you think? We probably took like 1,000.
Yeah.
We had about 1,000 there, but they don't give you that many seats.
We were kind of scattered.
The hardcore fans in the upper tier, maybe I'm just guessing, maybe 500, and then the rest of us, including ourselves, we're just scattered around. So you're not all together able to get that atmosphere going as much.
Yeah, and us as, living in South Florida, one of the things that's very a trait of South Florida is the fact that we have so many people from out of town. So I don't think it matters what game it is. We're always gonna roughly expect the same amount of away fans. Now, obviously, it might be a little different for Orlando, but we always
I will
have
say-
a decent amount. I mean, yeah, there's certain cities that turn out more.
LA
always see
showed out
those
for
extra-
us last year. The 32-52,
Yeah,
like I
that's
was
right, yeah.
surprised. It was like
Man.
a midsummer day in July. It was like at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock in South Florida in July at that with the sun beating down on you. It's horrendous.
Nightmare.
It's
And we're
awful.
wearing all, and we
And
got to
they
wear all black
came
too.
all dressed in black, filled up the whole
Yeah,
away section
all in black,
and
yeah.
jumping up and down. And I'm just, because we work for the team as well, and we're just like, oh my God. Like, it is so hot to be. So they show out. I mean, kudos to those LA fans. They're always like traveling big time. But
And is that-
I guess, like, yeah. Go ahead.
Is that, sorry, with Florida, is that because it's like a tourist destination as to why you get fans from all over, or is it just a place
Part
that
of it-
people like to go to?
Well, I'm
Yeah,
going to
so-
talk pre-Messi. I'm going to talk pre-Messi. But
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
for like the other MLS games, I will say only away fans we really get are ones that are outside of the LA fans. It's really fans that are usually Eastern Conference. So like we got a lot of
Yeah.
Nashville fans. We got New York City FC, Orlando, of course.
A lot of Canada.
Yeah, we do.
Canadians
get Canadian
love.
fans.
Yeah, Canadians love to come down here.
And I would say that's probably about it. We don't get a ton of actually like the supporters coming out like that. It's only happened a few times that I've seen personally. And it's usually the closer teams.
Yeah, we really didn't get many away fans from other teams, but I guess Columbus isn't the most desirable location. You know, off the top of your head, if you're going to go to one away game that season to follow your team, you're going to pick certain locations, aren't you, over maybe the Midwest? But
Yeah, and part of it is a lot of people who live here. There's a ton of people who aren't from here. Most people are probably from somewhere else. You know, I know people from Philly. There's a ton of people from New York. I'd say the most is New York, New Jersey area. We're getting a lot of Canadians nowadays. So those teams, even like Vancouver, sometimes they show out. I went to a Florida Panthers hockey game versus Vancouver, and they had a decent amount of fans there, and I was very surprised. So yeah, we have a lot of those people who they grew up in that location and they live here now. But so when their team comes to town, that they'll show out and they'll rep their hometown team. So we definitely have a lot of that here.
Sure.
I could kind of understand why people don't want to maybe choose Columbus, but here's the thing: like one of the things that I really like, and this is going to tie in nicely to my question, is you guys have such not only an amazing fan base, but I think you guys have the nicest stadium in the league. I mean, seeing like videos, pictures, and I think if I remember correctly,
It is really
Julian,
nice
didn't they
compared to
have
ours.
like the drone, the MLS, the season pass, didn't they have the drone tour?
Yeah, they always do like.
Yeah.
I
We did.
don't know if you guys
Watch
seen
that.
it on the Apple TV. They do like
Yeah.
the drones through the
It's
city.
so well done, and I love the European style of it. It feels like if you put that stadium in the middle of like Germany or something like that, you'd be like, yeah, that's a Bundesliga stadium. So it's so cool. So it kind of confuses me, when we've been reading about this and it's been such a big story, this whole Save the Crew movement. It just seemed, it never, at least from the outside looking in, for us, we never really even seemed or saw a problem as to why they would even want to leave or relocate. I mean, just a few days ago in American sports, they announced the owner of DC, the Capitals and the Wizards, said he's going to move them to Virginia across town. It's like even big cities aren't safe. So with that passion, like why do you think that they thought that it was a good idea to leave with all this? I mean, yeah, they couldn't get a stadium or something like that, but you ended up with one of the nicest stadiums in the league and such a passionate fan base.
yeah, I mean, it is kind of solely an American problem, this, because especially in other sports, like just quickly, like we're Green Bay Packers fans, so we feel safe in that sense. But I feel
Yeah,
like every
go
time I
on.
watch a Packers game, half the time the team we're playing, I'm like, where else has that team been? And Mel's always like, oh, they've used to be in this city and in this city. And it devalues the team to me. That team means nothing to me now. Like, for me personally, the team I hate most in MLS is Houston Dynamo, because they relocated from San Jose. That was a relocation. And the year they did that, they then won, I think they won MLS Cup the next year with the entire San Jose squad. That's not sport to me. That's not what a fan base is. But to answer your question, this was before our time, so we've been learning about it. Again, we just came in this season. I think when that was all going through, this was about 2017, 2018, the tail end of it. I wasn't even living in the States. Yeah, I wasn't even living in the States myself at that point. But it was to do with money, obviously. But the original Crew Stadium, which is still used now, it's the Crew 2 use it now, historic Crew Stadium, is in a bad location. It's nowhere near downtown. It's a great stadium, though, isn't it? We went to it for a game. Nice, yeah. But it's the original. It was the first soccer-specific stadium in MLS. But even though that was only 96, it's starting to look old.
It's not very modern.
Yeah, it needed modernising. And they didn't have lower.com. That wasn't there. And then Austin was on the market. As we all know, Don Garber, he seemed to be the guy that was coming in, mentioning Austin as an expansion place, even though that they'd never actually put in a bid at this time. He turned up at the final, actually, and he was fantastic. That was the best atmosphere when he was on screen.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
I saw that. Yeah, that was awesome. Like and now I don't know if you follow all the news that's been going on the past couple of days, but like,
we're gonna. I think that's actually a good tie-in if you want to talk about that real quick, Julian, because that is crazy.
So I guess, like, what was kind of like the journey throughout the season? Because obviously you guys bring in a new coach and Wilfred Nancy in a surprise move that I didn't see coming personally. He was a guy that really elevated Montreal to a status that I haven't seen since I started following MLS. And then he comes over to the Crew, which I thought was a very shocking move by Montreal to do that. And it turns out benefiting to Columbus's to so much that you guys obviously won the championship. So I guess, like, what was kind of like the journey throughout the season, like from the beginning to end? Like, was there slow points, high points? Like was there moments where you ever felt worried that maybe we don't make the playoffs, or were you always very confident leading into the end of the season?
So going into pre-season, I think we were tipped to finish in the playoffs, but in the lower ends, like 6th to 8th, but we should be okay to get in. But I don't think there was an expectation, so that was a good thing. We weren't expected to be challenging, so it gave Nancy a bit of time. Our first game, we lost 4-1 in Philadelphia, and we didn't know that. Again, we didn't know the team, we didn't know the players at this point. But he brought in Patrick Schulte as goalkeeper. Kid was on MLS on Crew 2, never played before. We lost 4-1. He gave away 2. He didn't give away. He let in 2 penalties, and everyone's saying, "What is this guy doing? This is going to be a slow season." But from the very first home game, I think we only lost 1 game at home all season, and that was against you guys, which that was pretty messy as well. So I don't know how we let that one slip. You guys beat us 2-1.
Yeah, I don't know. That team was awful.
You were still in the.
My goodness gracious.
You were still being dragged down by Phil Neville at that time, but
that's another story.
Dark
boy,
ages.
Oh boy! Trust me, I know. As someone who follows English soccer, I was against that from the beginning. I was like, and I would talk to my friend who's an academy coach, because he's like the tactics guy. I could talk to him about tactics, and I'd be like, this guy is sucking the energy out of this club. Like, he is playing such negative football, and I just remember what my friend said, and he goes, he's just English, man. He's just very, very English.
You might want to get a Portland Timbers fan on next, because he's going up there next to mess their team up. So
yes, I see.
Yeah, I watched the whole press conference of that. I'm like, I'm really interested to see how that turns out.
Yeah, we'll see.
But Mel,
he pulled out that result.
Do you feel like there's ever a phase in the season where we were struggling?
Honestly, I think we just got better as the season went on. And I think in terms of Nancy, it was interesting, like, talking to the other fans. And I think they just gradually started to trust him. Again, my analytics of soccer, I'm kind of learning. I was a Spurs fan because of Pete, and I've been watching Spurs for a few years, but this is like the first season I've really like watched a team really closely, so I'm learning. But
Gotcha.
so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like he was very offensive, and I think some of the fans were a little nervous, as we were sometimes. In the beginning, but we kind of learned to trust him. And I think that's what made, I could be wrong, but I think our possession was one of the top in the league.
Our possession and definitely. Our goal scoring, because I would compare him loosely to Postecoglou at Spurs. He just lets us play, and Crew don't have the best squad. We don't have any defenders. We until we signed Camacho, we had no centre backs, but he was playing players out of position with the idea that we'd have more of the ball, creating more chances. And it did mean there were some games, especially away from home, where we gave up some really bad goals, and we were giving up goals in the last minutes. We were taking risks at the back. But if you're winning all your home games and the fans are there seeing that, you've only got to get in the playoffs, right? The pressure isn't quite there. And because we had a good start, especially at home, we were never out. I don't think we was outside that top 5 from like April onwards or May onwards.
And when did Lucas when did he leave? Because that was really nerve-wracking time too.
That was another question I was going to ask you is like, when I saw that move, it was, I think, right after the All-Star weekend. And I was around shook.
That time.
I was surprised. I thought they would have found a way to keep him somehow. I get that he never really because Zellerán was always a pure 10. Like, I've watched him throughout the past. He's a pure 10, and I know in Nancy's system, you guys kind of had him in a winger position, and it just seemed like maybe it just wasn't so much of a system fit. But even so, it seemed like he was playing really well. I mean, obviously good enough to make it into the All-Star weekend.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought it was very odd. I guess, what was your guys' emotions like after that happened?
I remember we went.
I guess it was mixed emotions because you had Diego Rossi come in as well, which ended up being a massive signing, which I loved at LAFC when he was there.
Yeah, we went tailgating. Was that like the same day they announced it?
It was during the Leagues Cup. It was a Leagues Cup game, which, by the way, do we now have a pod on why that's such a crap tournament? But
trust me, we're winners of the tournament, and we destroyed it. We hate it.
I'll take the trophy though. I'm happy about that. I'm taking that, but I'll still talk
the Champions Cup.
Take the trophy. So we'll
take the Champions Cup too. Yeah,
it was it was a Leagues Cup game. We turned up tailgate. I think it was against the Mexican side because everyone was buzzing for that. And then someone came along and said, "Oh, we just sold Zellerán."
But people were devastated.
They were genuinely devastated.
Like really upset.
If you go before the game, like with people with names on the shirt, at least half the fans have Zellerán on the back of the shirt. He was that big a deal for us. Yeah. But that's again when Nancy was so good because he came out and then Rossi came in, but Rossi wasn't fit straight away. But we always seem to have someone else to come in and score the goals. Cucho, most of his goals and assists came after Zellerán left.
I was going to say, he's almost been playing better since then. Yeah.
Yeah, he steps up. Matan is one of my favourites. He's not the best. He makes a lot of mistakes, gives the ball away, but I just sort of was drawn to him the first game we went to. Again, the first game we went to, we didn't know any of the players. We were literally looking at players, and I think Aidan Morris had a cast on his arm, and that's the only reason we knew who he was, because he stood out. And it took us a few games to learn all these players, apart from this, like everyone knows Zellerán and stuff like that. But Nancy he has this way, again, like Postecoglou, I keep making it Spurs-centric, but like we've got all these injuries, and the way he comes out and presents himself is like, my team is good enough. We're going to go this way now, with this direction. And what I thought was kind of beautiful at the end was the weekend we won MLS Cup, Zellerán played away to the bottom team in Saudi Arabia and lost 2-0. And I'm like, that's you take the money, that's where your career went. I know, and we love him, but we had to sell him because Saudi Arabia comes calling. It's going to be a lot. I
mean, if you could, I see it from a Columbus perspective. You have a guy which you're probably not going to get. I mean, I don't remember his age. I want to say he's just over 30.
So it's like 29 or something.
What did you guys get for him? Like 12 million on the transfer market for him. So it's like not a bad sell from Columbus's part, but like it does hurt in the moment because just like this is a guy that's been with you guys for the past couple of years, and then just shipped off when you think he's probably going to be a long-standing piece. But I guess you mentioned that Cucho started to look better when he left. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because I don't analyze the games that closely, but I felt like he was given more responsibility. Zellarian was always the player that was free to go where he wanted. Once we didn't have that player in the team, I think if you watch Cucho, he's never playing as a striker. He's out on the left wing. He's down at right back.
It's like a false nine almost.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think when Zellarian was there, we couldn't have two players doing that. So he was a bit more restricted. And
taking soccer skills out of it, I think after he left too, Cucho kind of stepped up. Like his passion, he seemed a lot more vocal. Like I think he stepped up.
His team. It's like now it's my team. Like I have to manage. Like I have to be the guy. I'm the DP. Big signing. I got to do what I have to do. Yeah, because even watching you guys throughout the playoffs and a little bit here and there, and towards the end of the regular season, I did notice like he is dropping back. He's making those some of those passes to break the line, and especially in the final, like he just showed a lot of quality that I was just like, wow, like he's obviously more than just a lethal scorer. Like he can really open up the game for a lot of people. And so in what way do you think Rossi helped the team?
I think Rossi, he was actually quite a slow starter when he came in. I was aware he was great when he was here, but did he go to was it Turkey for a year or two?
Yeah, he went to Fenerbahce.
He went to Fenerbahce.
And I only know that because I have a friend from Istanbul who that's his team. So I was like, I remember it was I hope he works out. I was telling him, I was like, he's a good player. I hope it works out, but Turkey's a tough one. It's a tough place.
I remember he was a big transfer over there. He was like,
it was a big deal.
LA did pretty well on that transfer to send him over there.
But he came in. He came in and he was very slow to get going, and we were looking at him thinking,
because I didn't know who he was, and I was a little unsure.
Yeah, and I said to you, like he's proven himself in MLS before, but it took him a while, but he just gave us more balance. And again, Matan ended up towards the end of the season coming in playing 90 minutes as well. But Rossi is so much better on the ball. He doesn't make mistakes. He sees passes other players aren't seeing. And once him and Cucho got an understanding going, I think that was the difference.
Yeah, like I said, like towards the end of the season when it seemed like I'm kind of I didn't see the first few games when he first came in because I can't catch every game, but that is a little surprising because with him having MLS experience, usually those guys can come in like that because like we already know they already understand the system, the travel, everything. So it's kind of odd to see him have such a slow start, but at least he turned up for you guys.
I guess at least my perspective, having a friend, knowing a little bit about the Turkish league. It really is like it's hard to explain. It's very corrupt. It's very top heavy. They only have a few teams that are very good and they can spend money, but they kind of get their money from, who knows where, and they don't even have that much and they run their teams badly. So he's like, we can spend millions on someone like Diego Rossi, but we're in like tens millions of debt. So I just think that's a crazy place to go to unless you're really good. It's so difficult that it doesn't surprise me that maybe when he comes back to the MLS, he has to kind of shake that off and be like, okay, all right, I'm back.
He may not have had like the match fitness. I don't know what the training's like out there. Maybe he just had the time off. But also Nancy's got such a way of playing. It might have taken him a few games to get that into his mind. Like we were saying before the journey through the season, we were making so many mistakes and we'd always lose away. We've got this thing where we always give away a free kick in the last kick of the game where they can put it into the box and we always concede a goal. Mm-hmm. We get to the playoffs, we have to go to Orlando, we have to go to Cincy, and we got all that out of our system. We controlled both games and we never looked like... When we saw the draw, we if we get to the final, we're at home because we've got more points than anyone in the West. But as just Crew fans, we were like, we probably won't get to Low.com again this season because I don't think we're going to get past Orlando and we're not going to get past Cincy because we've seen our away games. But both of those games, we absolutely dominated both of those games.
So I actually want to bring this up. So before the playoffs started, me and Adam did a kind of like a playoff bracket. Me and him both did it on the show.
Okay. All right. Mr. Bragg. Go ahead.
Adam got a lot wrong. I pretty much had the entire bracket correct. I had Crew winning it all because of the way the tactics played. Because what opened my eyes to how Nancy played was I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a video on YouTube saying, man, I don't know the name of it, but I remember the channel's It's Called Soccer. And the guy breaks down the tactics of what Wilfred Nancy does and what he's been doing that first half of the season and basically how he's trained the team to kind of bunch up on one side, play triangles, and then kick it over to the other side. And because of that is why he relies so much on having very strong wingbacks, which is part of the reason, I guess, why you guys brought in Julian Gressel halfway through as well. And me and Adam, as we're watching the playoff games, we did notice him start to do that. I'm like, wow, man, that does open up a ton of space, because then you create like this almost kind of like a transition play, even though it's not a really transition play, because you get everything so bunched that the other team has to respect it, because you have players like Aiden Morris and Darlington Nagbe, and then you just cross it over, opens up the whole field again, because now those players are trying to come back, and then it gives the chance for Cucho to come in and Gressel or whoever else to charge the field. And like I'm like, wow, now I see what he's doing here. Like, this is pretty wild. So I don't know if you guys started to kind of pick that up too, because I watched that video and I didn't really notice it at first. And I'm like, wow, like that is an interesting concept.
Julian, I actually listened to your pod the other day and with the predictions, and like obviously you got it right, but I would not have called a Columbus LA final.
Really?
Honestly, it might be the Spurs fan in me, so I'm used to disappointment, but it was such a hard ride. We were just excited for the chance to get, each time.
So you see how right I was. The only games I got wrong was I had Nashville beating Orlando, because I wasn't a lot. I don't know. I feel like I know I'm a Miami fan saying this, but I feel like I'm trying to be unbiased here, but I felt like Orlando was a little overrated in a way. Like I felt like they lacked a lot of the quality.
The one thing
that,
about
like,
Orlando,
for example, you guys had with like Cucho. Like Orlando doesn't have that lethal killer like you guys had with Cucho.
Orlando
and that ability
shocked me where they were. Like every time like they would win a game 1-0 or something, and I'd look at the table, it'd be like, geez, like it's halfway through the season. How are Orlando still like up there? You would always feel like it's gonna fall apart eventually for them. And it never really did, but it never got any better either, which is weird. So it was a weird season for them.
I just feel the MLS is all about scoring and attacking. And if you have a guy who can put up goals and can do it, you guys were up there with Cincinnati as the best teams who can score goals in the league. So to me, it's like if you got past Nashville and Atlanta, the Cincinnati game I don't remember what I said, but that was the game I'm like, that's going to be a tough one. But something about the number one seeds almost never win the MLS playoffs. So I'm going based off odds there. So it's like the odds of them actually making it to the final versus getting beat is possible. And I figured you guys were going to have a lot of away fans that were going to go there. So it's going to create a really interesting atmosphere. So, and I just didn't really see the West as super strong outside of LAFC. So I pretty much I got the first St. Louis game wrong. I didn't see Kansas City beating them. And then I had Nashville beating Orlando. But outside of that, everything else was right. And I had you guys all the way to the end. So, and I really, because of the ability on offense, and I feel like, and you probably see because you watch a lot of the Premier League, a lot of MLS coaches just aren't very tactical. And when you have a guy who is, it's such a huge advantage.
They're
being able to really being able to see someone just kind of toy with another coach. That means I put a lot of weight into that.
But yeah, going back to what you said, Julian, like I think it was the Atlanta, I'm not sure which game it was. We played them twice. Played them twice at home. Remember it was the one where Gressel was through in the first 10 seconds and he missed, and then he didn't recover for half an hour. Yeah. But we turned the ball over on the edge of our box with a lovely little touch from Gressel, went to Morris, one pass out wide, I think maybe Yabal on the left, through to Kucha, and we scored within like 10. We kept doing that. We scored within 10 seconds of getting the ball back because we attacked that quickly. When we played Orlando away, they took off their two attacking players because they couldn't cope defensively. So we kind of stopped the other teams from playing. Cincy, they were done. They were on the floor. By the time we got that goal back on 75 minutes, we were like, we're going to win this because as long as we can score the goal, because they were done. They couldn't keep pace with the speed we were changing the ball over. But the reason for that as well, I just want to mention Darlington Nagbe. He's incredible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He sits in that midfield. He got a 96% pass completion rate in the final. I think that's his fourth cup now. And he is colossal. Like, he does not give the ball away. And that allows the rest of the team to kick on and to attack with him sitting there.
I was proud of myself because I'm new to the sport, and I picked him up like halfway through, and I was like, who is this guy? I really like him. And I started making all my bets on Nagby to score.
All her bets every week are Nagby to score, Nagby shot on target.
And I kept winning because he's so good.
Kept coming in, yeah. So
yeah, he's one of those where
that's great.
He's a big. You wish you would have saw him push himself a little bit more. It's from like if you're a U.S. soccer fan,
yeah,
like because he was a guy that easily in his prime could have went overseas and at least give it a shot. You know what I mean? See what happens. I thought he always had the technical capability and to do. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar world class player, but I think he could have made his own over there potentially. He should at least give it a shot. But I do think the fact that, because I mean, when he came in, I believe it was 2012. That was a whole different league.
Oh yeah.
The quality. So the fact that he was able to stay in this league and see the quality drastically change, and he's still one of the best players, even though the quality has risen so much and the salaries have gotten so much higher, to me almost kind of proves that maybe he could have made it over there because we've seen the talent change. But yeah, he's such a big piece, and having Aiden Morris learn from him is huge.
Yeah, and Morris is an engine. Morris is a kid. Like, he's 22, I think, but he looks 16. Like, he's got the bright red cheeks within 5 minutes of the game starting, but he does not stop. So you got him and Nagby complementing each other in there, and I think that makes the difference.
He's actually from a town like maybe 10 minutes from Adam right now.
Really?
Where? Weston. He plays
in Weston?
Academy at Weston.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He played in Weston, yeah. Fucking everybody knows Weston. That's my friend coaches
over there. He's like a legend at Weston FC, and at Weston FC is like one of the best academies.
Yeah, that's like it's an MLS talent generator. Weston FC,
okay.
So like only academy that we have always had down here that really competes. You know, they would field the team in the U.S. Open Cup.
There's a lot of money. Let's just say there. It's a very
Let's put it like this. Like we would working at the games, we would have a lot of people come to us and they'd be like, "Hey, how my son's really good. How does he get on the Inter Miami Academy?" And I'd be honest with them. I'd be like, "Try and get him to play for Weston FC."
Because they snag kids from there all the time. They snag kids from there all the time.
They like Inter Miami. They could walk right into it because it's like we're right here. So they can just go and be like, "Hey guys, you want to come play for an MLS team?" And they don't have to move. Their family's still here and everything. It's their local team. So it was good that definitely helped Miami a little bit. The fact that we already had that was established for a while before. You know, I don't know exactly how long they've been in existence, but definitely way before Inter Miami was formed. So they already kind of had an academy operating out of South Florida that they can kind of come and be like, "Okay, we want you. And yeah, a bunch of our young players, they came from the Weston FC Academy. So it's a very great, very, very good academy.
So what was kind of your emotions going through the game? So the first half, like I could quickly speak on my end. Like I felt Columbus was dominant pretty much the entire first half. Like it wasn't even close. LA looked like they didn't even show up. It was an absolute bloodbath in every way. It just felt like you guys were just outclassing them. Like it wasn't even close. Like the ability, the biggest thing that I picked away from that first half was just the passing accuracy. Accuracy was incredible. Like I felt like anytime somebody on the crew passed, it was going to the right person at the right spot, which ultimately led to the first 2 goals. So I guess like how were you guys feeling going into halftime after seeing all that?
Halftime, we were buzzing, weren't we? That was one of the best 45 minutes I think we've seen.
And it's kind of unlike us, just our personalities. Even if we're winning by 2, we'll be like, "Oh shit, we gotta keep it the second half. We think we're gonna lose." I don't know why.
I'm the most deceiving score in football. It's the most deceiving score in football. It's 2-0.
But that game was different. We were like, "We got this."
I think the atmosphere just rode us along. I mean, I was drinking from midday, so I can't really tell you. She was the designated driver, so she was probably focused more than I was. But that's when we rewatched the game back, the highlights. Like they had a 15-minute strong period in the second half. I don't remember that. It's a blur. And I don't think that's
a good point.
No, I felt that. Yeah, I didn't.
Within the stadium, the chanting was relentless. We never felt like we were going to give this game away. It just felt like, it sounds so cliche, but it did feel like it was ours. Once we started that game, it was our game.
Yeah, Julian can attest to this, but after you guys scored the second goal and went up 2-0, I did text in our group chat, GG.
I was like, yeah, I mean, it's.
And then they said,
insane.
that's when they said
like,
most deceiving score in football. And I was like, yeah, but no, not this one. So I can understand.
yeah, my
you guys
biggest thing
feeling
with
that way.
LA was, I still don't understand why they haven't done it. LA
well,
needs a
I'm
striker.
gonna talk about it
I don't
in a
know
minute.
why I don't know why they never got one. They still had an open DP spot, and I just felt like your guys' midfield, like at that point, was just dominating the game. No matter, it would have took Bawanga to put away 3 goals to win that game. Just going into that second half, and it looked like LA did start to turn up in that second half. They ended up getting the goal. I guess like towards the end, it did seem like LA was starting to ramp up and stuff. Like, what was kind of the atmosphere in the stadium then when you start seeing? Because I want to say the last 10 minutes, LA was pretty much just because you guys took out Cucho and put in the big boy Ramirez and pretty much started to set back. Which I was like, ooh, that's a nerve-wracking like moment because it's like if they equalize, you're going into extra time, and LA's pretty much still has Bawanga on the field, and now you took out your best scorer. Like, I was like, whew, that is a risky move by Nancy right there.
If you watch, I think when Cucho and Nagby as well, they both could barely walk off the field. They were completely spent.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a necessity, but it still didn't feel like they were going to get that goal. If it had gone to extra time, we would have been in trouble for sure.
Yeah, I said to you, what is
that was my biggest concern because I mean at that point, yeah, they're only down by 1. You get in there, and I guess Nancy kind of like because like you kind of mentioned with the Cincinnati game, Acosta was dead. Acosta was so dead. They kept him in the game, and a lot of people made the argument that probably the reason why Columbus came back in that extra time is because they kept Acosta in because they were worried because Cincinnati lost in the U.S. Open Cup semifinal to Miami because they took out Bupenza and Acosta. So they didn't want to repeat that mistake against you guys, but then it ended up biting him in the ass. And now it seems like Nancy's like, I don't want to risk that anymore. So,
yeah. And we've as much as Cucho's out, like our figurehead, we've always felt like if someone's out, Ramirez steps in, completely different player. He's not mobile, but he just fits into the team and he will get on the end of chances. He saved us in the Cincy game. I mean, the first one was an own goal, but he was there and then he scored the winner. We absolutely love Ramirez.
Yeah, he's one of our favorites.
And midway through the season, he was playing like 90 minutes. He was a starter while Rossi was getting up to speed, and then he got taken out. But whoever came in, apart from Kevin Molino, for some reason, Kevin Molino comes in and it's a disaster. I don't know why he keeps coming on for 5 minutes. When you see him come on, you worry. But the rest of the team that come in, they just do the same job. They just fit. It just works.
That's funny. We used to say that about Harvey Neville. They'd bring him on for the last 5 minutes of the game, and it's like, it's over, man. Why? We're not even trying.
Yeah.
Like, what is he going to give us?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Adam, you want to bring up the Cherundolo comments?
I do. So, yeah, we talked a lot about, Columbus, rightfully so, but I do want to touch a little bit about LA. Like we said, they just got, especially in the first half, they got absolutely tactically outclassed. And this is why I have a problem with this comment. And I have another problem with this comment too. But so Cherundolo said that LA in general is the better team, but Columbus was better on the day. I think that is number one. I think he's just saying that because he's salty. I think he's upset that he got outclassed by a coach in his first year at the job. So I think that's part of it. And another part of it is they went 0-6. They had 6 opportunities to win titles. I don't know what they call it. Julian, you know what they call it? It's kind of like our Super Cup. Between the winner of the Liga MX and winner
is that the Campeones Cup?
You're talking about the Campeones Cup.
Yeah, there you go. I just forgot the name. But yeah, so they lost that. And then they lost the Champions League final. So that's 2. Then they lost in the US Open Cup. They lost in the Leagues Cup. They lost the Supporters Shield, and they lost the MLS Cup. And they were considered the top dogs. Like, they were the favorites coming in. They were arguably favorites to win the CONCACAF Champions League. So I think, and he was saying things like, "Oh, this season was a success." No, it wasn't. I don't understand. Like, am I crazy? Like, am I crazy to think that he's just kind of talking out of his ass because he's salty? Like, it just seems like the dude had so many expectations and good players, and to lose, 3 finals or final. One of them's the cup, so 2 finals, and then one, championship game, I guess. That's in my opinion, that would be a bad season. I mean, I guess there's teams out there that would consider that a success, but I see that as a failure, and I think that's a stupid answer.
Well, you have to remember it's fine margins. So last year they only won because they had Gareth Bale scored in the last kick of the game. They almost lost that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
What we take from it is just quickly, we go back to the Cincy game. We're 2-0 down and we were devastated at half time. And I said to Mel, like, if we lose this game, it's fine, but we need to play. We need to have shown up because we didn't get lucky. We deserved the game, but in soccer, you score or you don't. LA didn't show up for the final against us. So whether the better team or not, who cares? It's MLS. You don't play the West, every team in the West. It's not an even home and away schedule. You've got to show up in the big games, and they didn't do that. They showed up on 75 minutes for a little while. And
yeah, I feel like
I
was gonna say, I feel like if I'm a fan, like you're telling me the season's success, like we lost 3 trophies. We lost the Champions Cup, the Champions League final, and you lose this, which I mean that's kind of whatever, the Campeones Cup, and then you lose this final. I guess maybe it doesn't seem as bad because you won last year, but to me, to say that success is a little egregious.
Like, I mean, as Inter Miami fans, we consider this season a success in quotes.
Yeah.
Because it was so bad on one side, but we have a title and it was such a great run. And even we're hesitant to be like, yeah, that was a successful season. And we signed Messi. Like, we're sitting here like, yeah, I don't know. Because that's just how it was for us. So I don't understand how you can lose it all and just be like, yeah, no,
results matter,
Yeah.
I mean, he was right to say we were better on the day, but he didn't need to say they think if they want to be the better team, who cares? We won the trophy, we won the game. And I don't even agree with them. They'd lost all those games. I didn't realize.
Yeah, well, exactly. I don't agree with them even on that statement. And I think
Columbus is the better
like
team.
Said, it's results based. You got to perform on the day. So that's another good reason why I think it was just a stupid comment. I mean, he got tactically outclassed. And he felt like he needed to explain it, I guess. Well, explain it. I don't even know if you really call that explaining it. I guess giving an excuse is more like it.
So I guess where do you see like Columbus going into next season? Like now you guys are playing in the Champions Cup, the newly formatted version, just had the draw. I don't know if you guys had the chance to see the format or anything, but I guess like what's your expectations going into the season, the league play, and also like the Champions Cup? Like, do you guys think do you expect to be a legitimate contender for the Continental Trophy?
I think so, because the way the draw has gone, I had a quick look. We're in the last 16 automatically from winning, and we'll be playing, I think it's either Houston or St. Louis first game. So we've got a domestic game, basically. So we back ourselves against, same as they will back themselves against us. We haven't got to do the travel in that sense. Most of the big hitters, from what limited amount I know about Central American teams, are on the other side of the draw. So we should be okay there. And quite frankly, it's the Champions Cups at the start of the season. If we're playing like on a midweek game, we can kind of rest players for we've only got to get in the playoffs. You don't need to win every game in MLS. You've just got to. So if we prioritize that, which is a choice to be made, whether we do or not, then we can go far for sure.
It arguably hurt LAFC this year. That was something we talked about a lot in past episodes. We were saying, if they end up losing, are they going to look back and say, should we have prioritized one or the other? Because now that they got nothing to show for it, and they tried for everything. I mean, you look at Seattle, and they had to completely throw away their entire season. Like, not just resting a few players here and there. They completely fielded a B team for MLS and then focused all on CONCACAF Champions League. and it paid off for them. They won, and then they were decent this year because they actually came back and started playing their guys again.
Yeah, I will say, I know you say you don't know much about like the Liga MX stuff. I don't know much about it either. I grew up Hispanic, so I obviously my grandfather. I'm Costa Rican and Puerto Rican. My grandfather is Costa Rican, diehard soccer fan, and so like the only time in America that we can watch like soccer in Spanish is a lot of the Mexican games. So I grew up kind of knowing the names and stuff. And I looked at like kind of the season and how they're performing. Like I will say this side of the bracket, the Columbus side of the bracket is stacked. That's going to be the tougher side. The other side is going to be a little bit easier because not only you guys, which are going to be a tough team and like I said, legitimate contenders, at least I think as well. You do face the winner of Houston, St. Louis, which I think is going to be generally kind of a tough game. But then also after that, Tigres is the highest spending club in all of North America. Like that's a very tough team. And then you go on the bottom side of the bracket, you have Miami, which is going to be revamped and probably going to be pretty good. Cincinnati,
hopefully,
and then Monterrey, which is like another powerhouse club with a ton of money that they're spending. So like this side is going to be tough, but it's going to be super, super entertaining. Like for you guys, I think we could potentially make it to semifinals, but it's going to be a really fun thing. And I do expect a lot of these MLS teams, like you said, probably going to have to rest a lot on these weekend games because as long as you let 9 teams into the playoffs, like
you can afford to let a few games go. As long as you can pick up that form later in the season, you can afford to let a few games go.
I think we're feeling pretty confident too that most of our players have re-signed for next year, which has been really nice. I think only Gressel.
We let Gressel go,
but that was exciting. Like the couple of days following the cup, seeing that a lot of guys were sticking around. So
yeah, I was going to say that. I saw that. Yeah, you guys are pretty much going to run it back with the same team, and then probably add pieces in the summer window. So I guess do you see yourself going back to back? Do you think there's the depth there to go back to back?
I don't think
while managing the other tournaments and stuff.
I don't think we really have the depth this season, to be quite honest. So I don't see us having, unless we bring more players in defensively. I do think that every year things change. Teams are going to be more wise to the way we play. It might be harder to hit that amount of goals again. And defensively, we get found out a lot. We got Camacho. He's older as well. He's the only guy that really holds that back line. But we trust in Nancy. He seems to have a plan. He knows what he's doing. We're just a week off the end of the season, so we'll see what happens in the next couple of months in terms of bringing players in. But yeah, you get to the playoffs and anyone can do it. You really can. So it's all about getting those home ties.
Yeah.
So like the Atlanta game, they could have beat us, but we had 2 home games against their 1, so it's such an advantage.
Yeah, that was the only time really the best of 3 was actually entertaining was the Columbus Atlanta series. The best of 3 was, in my opinion, I thought I was not a fan of it. That was the only series where it actually felt like, oh wow, this is actually like kind of fun and interesting. Like it's actually kind of becoming a back and forth. But outside of that, I wasn't a huge fan of that. The whole thing.
Yeah, I think I ended up after
3 weeks off.
Yeah, after that happened, I think I ended up looking at all the games. And I found out that if they had not done it and they had just kept it to 1 game, every team that advanced would still have advanced off of the 1 game.
So we wasted all that time. And they had the international break in the middle of it. It just seemed
that was the worst
awful.
part. That was the worst part. So, it occurred to me when you guys said it, you're a week off the season. And now I'm thinking about it. I was like, dang, we are way off.
Yeah.
Like we've had our last game so long ago. Like, geez, how is it that there was still a season going on? It is.
But you guys
that's too much.
You guys are going on tour around the world. You're the Harlem Globetrotters now. You're in Saudi Arabia. You're in China.
Right?
Oh man, it is.
Yeah, we keep seeing these news stories,
traveling.
and it's like, come on, guys. Like, whatever. I mean, I get it. They're cashing in, but a lot of things has been very iffy. A lot of people are annoyed. We have by far the most expensive season tickets in the league. More expensive than a lot of world. We're more expensive than a lot of European clubs.
Haven't they
And
doubled
then-
the price for this season?
Yeah.
It's more expensive than Real Madrid season tickets to go to the Bernabeu. It's cheaper to go to the Bernabeu, like right up front, to see
Wow.
some of the best players
We
in
got
the
a wait
world than it
list
is
now. It's insane. So
to go to our glorified high school
they sold them.
stadium, because that's what we have. It's a glorified. It's metal bleachers. It's not even like an actual
it's
concrete.
the facility is nice though. I will say the training facility and like the surrounding infrastructure is nice. It's just, you could tell it's very obviously a temporary stadium, and it's in a location. I mean, I'm not saying there's not going to be traffic. There's always going to be traffic in South Florida, but like they put it in a spot where, it just, everything collects, and it could just be a standstill, one lane trying to get onto the main road out of the main parking lot. And that's, always been the thing for me. I was like, if they just had more space here and just said, screw it, we don't need to actually be in Miami, because if you look at the map, like it is geographically like in the middle of South Florida, like the Tri-County area with Palm Beach, Miami, like it is filling in the gaps to the point where, look, like people complain. Like I know there's some people that come to the games and they're like, hey, when are you going to build a stadium in Miami? I hate driving 45 minutes or whatever. There's still people that are coming to the games, but the location has just been very, very rough.
It sounds like what you guys had with the original stadium too, right? Was it that bad of a location?
So I'm not sure which one of you was talking about, but you were talking about the Red Bull Stadium in the previous episode, about how it's out in the industrial area outside of New Jersey. And that's what,
because I did some traveling for work, so I did see that area. It was like, it's like a oil yard or something like that.
Yeah, and we drove into New York this year and we saw it, and we were like, it looks like shipping containers all around it. But what we have here with Crew, we're on the north side of Columbus. We're home in 15 minutes, and we can park. And that's, I mean, the previous stadium's not that far out, is it?
It's not. No.
It's just you can't. There's no bars or there's nothing around because you can't walk to this. Whereas now you can go out downtown. We're right by the Nationwide Arena, which is where the Blue Jackets play in hockey, and there's tons of bars and restaurants there, and it's a 15-minute walk to the stadium from there. So
that's actually another good point. We don't have anything. Yeah, we're a similar situation where our stadium is right now. There's no bars. We have to set up a fan zone outside. It's an industrial park, and we got an executive airport, which I like the airport. I can't lie. That's cool having the private jets flying over.
And we moved here from Chicago, so we used to go to Chicago games, and before they moved to Soldier Field, it was the same situation. They were like outside the city, quite a drive, right off the highway, and it's been much better being here.
If you're a Chicago fan living in Chicago, you would have such a long journey out. And now they're at Soldier Field, and it's no better because it's not accessible and it's way too big a stadium for them.
Yeah. Well, the thing too with the Chicago too, I'd imagine a lot of people take public transport and stuff too, so it's like it's super tough for them. And that's kind of like the issue. Like here, you have to Ubers are basically impossible. Like you wouldn't even want to take it. It's so expensive.
I mean, it's possible, but
yeah, we're gonna switch it up to. So there's actually you can say too, Melissa, if you want. MLS just announced that they're backing out of the U.S. Open Cup literally right before we got onto the show. I don't know if you guys had the chance to see it at all.
No, can you tell us about that? I didn't know this.
It happened
30 minutes before we started.
Messaged me when I was getting home. Like I was getting home from work, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, MLS is out of U.S. Open Cup," and I just sent WTF.
So I don't know if you guys thought, I guess since the league ended, Don Garber, they did the State of the League and all this other stuff. A bunch of news coming out about the roster rules and all this stuff. And they just announced today that the MLS will no longer participate in the U.S. Open Cup. That the MLS Next Pro will take its spot. And they're currently trying to figure out what they're going to do with that CCC berth to get into the Champions League. Whether if they're even going to grant it to a MLS Next Pro team, or if it's just going to be a USL team or whatever. I guess they're still trying to figure out that portion of it, like who's going to actually earn the berth. But yeah, they're pretty much backed out. So what are your raw thoughts on it, since you guys are just now finding about it? I'm kind of curious on your raw thoughts.
I think it's terrible. I mean, the US Open Cup is one of the longest running cups, right?
It's the
And
third
one of
oldest
the
cup
oldest
competition in the world.
Yeah.
One of the oldest in the world. Yeah.
It's the third oldest in the world.
And
Listen, I know
also-
all about old cup competitions. So it really is like, I think that's the beauty of the cup is I went and in actually Miami, because Inter Miami was drawn against the USL team Miami FC, who plays out of the Florida International University's football stadium. That area is nice too. So we went to that game, and it's like, and I was thinking about it. I was like, this is what's so cool, and this is why I love watching cup games. You know, even in England, the FA Cup, you have these teams in League Two sometimes that end up even hosting like a team like Manchester United or a team like Chelsea or a team like Arsenal, and you have like these huge teams coming into these old locker rooms and these old stadiums that still have the posts blocking your view when you sit. And that's the magic of the cup, is that anybody can win it. You know, one of my best friends, the reason I'm an Arsenal fan, his dad told me a story about how he played for a semi-professional team, and he played in one of the qualifying rounds of the FA Cup as a left back against West Ham.
Wow.
West Ham ended up playing all their 15-year-olds, and they still lost 7-0. But he played, and he had a chance to win it, and that's so cool. And it's the same thing here. You know, you had these little teams. Like I said, Weston FC, the local academy, they field a team. They play every year. So it's crazy. It's such, because that's, everybody who follows the sport knows you have your league, you have your cup competition. Every country has it. Italy, Germany with the Pokal, La Liga with the Copa. You know, England obviously with the FA Cup.
But
I mean, it's crazy that they're just saying, we have too many games, but they're going to keep the Leagues Cup.
The problem you have here is there's no promotion relegation. So this is the only time these teams. Crew this year, we went to Pittsburgh Riverhounds. We lost 1-0. We rested a lot of players, but we still played a pretty decent squad. You know, took a pretty decent squad. They beat us 1-0. It gave them exposure. It gave that team a chance to see some MLS players. And we ourselves went up to Pittsburgh a couple of months later to go to a Riverhounds game because we wanted to check it out. And
it's a beautiful stadium, right?
It's lovely.
So nice.
It's on the river.
That's cool.
To go past. You
I've
don't
seen
watch
it.
the game,
Yeah.
but it's beautiful. Yeah, and it's so much fun. You've got the cliffs on one side, and then you've got teams like Lowville in the USL Championship. Indy 11 came to us. We in the round prime.
Indy 11's a good one.
Indy 11 brought loads of fans, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
The attendance was 2,000 that night in Lower.com. So it's not, fans of MLS clubs aren't necessarily watching it, but Indy 11 brought a solid amount because for them it's a big day out and they get to play an MLS team.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point that you bring up, you know, not having a lot of people there. And I understood, we always talked about that, and we thought it was more, definitely partly MLS because they're not promoting it, and partly the federation because they run the competition, so they should help and promote it even more as well. So we would have people who are season ticket holders coming to games, asking us, because like we said, we work on game days, coming to us and being like, "Hey, we're season ticket holders. Is there a game today? What is this?" They're at the stadium asking us this. They're like, we don't know. It's like, yeah, and it's like, are you kidding me? I was like, this is it just blew my mind that people are not only, so like, think about all the people who are like, I don't know what that is, and they're just not going. So it was a lot of games, and we thought it was just us because like South Florida and Miami in general, we're known for having bad fans. If the team's not good, they're not going to sell out. It's just a fact. So we thought it was just us, but then we would watch some other games on our phone at the game, and we see, oh my God, like even like stadiums that are always packed and sold out are empty as well. And like everybody's talking shit about it. And it was like, well, clearly it's a US Open Cup problem and they got to sort it out because, you know, these other cup competitions don't have that problem.
But you know what, though, if you look at the other side of it, and I think that's what makes it so great, is like when they do go to, like when Miami played at Birmingham, Alabama,
That was cool.
That's really cool because otherwise they would have never went. And a lot of people showed up. And I think if you really want to grow the sport, like, wouldn't you want like these flagship teams going everywhere and to these little markets that don't have it to help grow it? Like a place like going to Birmingham. That's crazy. Like, who would ever thought these players would ever be in the middle of Alabama? But you need that to help kind of like facilitate that. Because, like, for example, I grew up in North Florida in Jacksonville, and we had formerly an NSAL team, but it's no longer exists anymore. They're actually coming back to be an MLS Next Pro team. But when the Philadelphia Union came to town, we sold out our football stadium, the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium. Not sold it out, my bad. We sold maybe about 30,000 tickets.
Yeah, it's decent.
To see a Philadelphia Union team with like backups, and no one knew who they were, but they just wanted to see professional soccer. So it's like, it sucks to see that not there, but I do, it's a weird, the way I've always looked at it is a weird thing, because I get MLS's point of view on it, is that it's like US soccer has done an atrocious job at marketing it, organizing it, and broadcasting it. It was awful. Like, to watch some of the games, we were watching it like on some random YouTube channel. I think like the Bleacher Report YouTube channel. And then it was on Bleacher Report. Paramount. And then we go to like Paramount Plus, and it was just all over the place. And then the moment Messi stepped in, then all of a sudden, we're going to put it on Peacock, on Univision. We're going to put it on,
it was on like CBS Sports,
Paramount
whatever.
Plus.
And they had
like,
Ray
where
Hudson
was this
doing
the whole time? And it's like, where was this the whole time?
They get the top Champions League. The guys who do Champions League for CBS are doing the U.S. Open Cup semifinal. It's like, oh, now you guys care?
So it's like U.S. soccer needs to do a better job at it. So it's like a weird thing, because I hate MLS for doing it, but then it's also like U.S. soccer.
They're getting a lot of shit for it. In just a short amount of time, I wasn't really able to have the time to see, the full reactions from the internet. But from what I'm seeing early on, it's pretty universally hated, this decision. Everyone's kind of thinking this is stupid and pathetic and killing a historic competition. That's really what they're doing. They're killing the third oldest cup competition in the world. It's crazy to think about this. I can't even believe it.
How was the Riverhounds game? Was that cool? Like how far is that from you guys?
3-hour drive, was it?
Yeah.
It was the torrential rain.
It rained, the entire game. It was freezing, but it was really fun.
It was their second from last home game in the regular season, and they topped the league, but they bombed out in the playoffs in the first round. But
we said it had like an English feel to it, like the stadium and the
fans are serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you want to go to that level, the fans are going really into it.
And we like stood next to the pitch and watched. We didn't even go to our seats.
It's too wet to sit down. But no, we try and do a lower league game every season if we can. We've done Indy 11 in the past, and we'll try and keep, because to me it's interesting just to go around wherever you are. We do it around the world, not just the US. We try and pick out different little stadiums. So it was great experience.
Cool. The one thing with some of those, though, like, man, sometimes the pitches for those games are so bad. Some of them are really bad.
You could say the same thing about the other cups, though. Like I said, some
at least those are grass, though. Like some of these are like baseball fields with clay and like
don't talk shit about
turf.
Don't talk shit about St. Petersburg, okay? They got a nice stadium. Tampa Bay Rowdies have a nice stadium. I will say, because I went to see an IndyCar race there. Very nice. They kind of converted an old baseball stadium into a soccer
that one's
stadium.
Converted, though. Yeah.
It is, They just use it for that now, but it's still pretty cool.
But yeah, so I guess we'll transition over to some international soccer. Talk about a little bit of the Euro draws. I'm assuming you're an England fan.
Yeah. Still waiting for that first
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not a Southgate fan, though.
No, I'm a Southgate fan. I like Southgate.
Really? You're a Southgate fan?
He's taken us. I think English fans. I personally think English fans and US fans are very similar when it comes to international soccer. We both get way ahead of our station. Southgate has taken us to a cup final and the World Cup semi-final. That's further than I've been in my lifetime. I'm all in on Southgate still at this point.
I feel like there's a certain expectation with you guys, though, because it's like, the Premier League's the greatest league in the world. We have there's just. I do feel like at times the English player does get propped a little bit more. Obviously, I mean, there is the English tax and stuff like that you wouldn't get, like Declan Rice, for example. No offense, Adam, but
I don't know what you want from me. Sorry, it's City's fault. We paid that much.
But I get like what you're saying, like a lot of the English chance comes from, because it's like, I mean, I would be annoyed as well, like, you know what I mean? But maybe it's weird. But you want to pull up the draw, Adam?
Can you pull it up, because it's gonna blind me?
Okay, I got you.
I cannot find a dark version.
I've barely seen this draw. We're going back to England in the summer for the second half of the tournament. Obviously, it's not in England, but I'll be watching it back home with friends. I've barely focused on this yet. So
it's funny, because while you're pulling that up, I actually noticed after the draw, so my mom is born and raised in Poland. So that's kind of my international team, and my grandma still lives there. We've been going through such a horrible, horrible period right now, where we're being run into the ground by the federation. They just keep hiring idiots. They hired like the old Portugal manager, and we had such an abysmal group that I was actually glad we didn't qualify. I was like, this is good. They fired the coach, and then they do the draw, and I see, playoff winner. Who's in that? And then I see that we're playing like Estonia or something in the playoff. I'm like, oh no, there. We could still qualify.
You probably will. Please. You probably will.
It's one of those weird things where you don't want to qualify, but
we're so broken. How is it that we have somebody, one of the best players in the world, and we can't do anything with it? We have decent midfielders too. It's not like we have nobody. We have Zielinski. We've always had good goalies. That's kind of the one thing about our country, is always had a good goalie.
And you've got an Englishman, Matty Cash, playing right back.
That's always funny. One of my friends was like, "Wait a second, what?" Because he clicked on him one time when he was watching a game, and he was like, "Why does it say Matty Cash is Polish?" And I was like, "Oh, his mom's from Poland, so he chose Poland because he would never play for the English team." Fair enough.
England team, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess he's never gonna play for the English team, so might as well.
We can kind of go group by group and just give our top two, like who we think is going to advance. So
yeah, we don't need to go too in depth with this. It's still
we'll just give like time. A thought. So Group A, we have Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland. So I'll start with you, Pete.
I'm actually going to say Germany and Scotland. Switzerland would draw all three games because they just don't turn up to play. Yes. Shaqiri will still be there with his no neck. He's their best player, but he's past it. Scotland have got a great manager, so I would go Germany and Scotland.
And I like what Adam? Scotland do with how they're able to, at least when he's healthy. I feel bad because as an Arsenal fan, I wish he was healthy, because he was a signing that I was really excited about, Kieran Tierney. Mm-hmm. It's just, if he stayed healthy, he would have been. He really had that fight. He was always, giving 100% effort, and it doesn't matter. And I like that Scotland, they'll play Robertson as kind of like the left mid, and then they'll have Tierney behind. So that even though they got two really good players in that position, they make it work. And it makes sense because Robertson is a lot better on the ball. So I could see that happening. I mean, surprisingly, Hungary had a decent qualifying. Switzerland, you would assume, I would agree with you, but Shaqiri, he's one of those guys. He'll do nothing, but then he'll score some bicycle kick and then they'll win a game.
It's true.
It's like this man always comes up with something. So it's tough to say. I think that's probably a good guess, Germany and Scotland. But I think aside from Germany, it could be any of them.
I'm with you guys too. I have Germany, Scotland. How about you, Melissa?
The only thing I was going to say in the beginning was Germany, so I'm glad I wasn't wrong on that, because that would have been embarrassing. I have no idea about the other three.
I will say Germany has not been strong, so I could realistically see a world where Germany at second place. I think they advance, but I wouldn't be totally shocked. I mean,
they don't have a striker
past the group stage in the World Cup, so
they don't have a striker.
There's some big nations that are struggling in Europe right now, and looking at all those groups, you could see all of them struggling in some of those games. There could be some surprises.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it really is it's going to be an interesting year for the Euro, because some of these teams are a lot better than we think, and some of them aren't as good as we think.
Germany are hosting though, right? So that gives them a big
Yes.
advantage.
They are. So they did switch it back. I remember the last time I traveled internationally to England was before COVID, and I just remember doing the Wembley tour, and they were talking about they had like all the stuff there for the final, and I thought they were going to do the multi-host thing, so they stopped doing that because of COVID.
Stop doing that. Germany are hosting this time in 2028. It's the UK and Ireland together, so it's between England, Scotland, Wales, and I think Northern Ireland have a game. But we've gone.
I like it better with the host.
Me too. I prefer that. Yeah.
It was always weird. Like you haven't traveled all across Europe.
So now we have Group B, which is Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. And we'll go ahead, Pete. Who you got? Keep you going first.
I mean, Spain definitely. Croatia could do Italy. Luka Modric will probably be 40 years old by then, but I'm assuming he's still there. But Italy
still playing?
He's still playing. He was up until the end of the qualifying. Italy struggled in our group and just squeezed in at the end with a draw, I think, against Montenegro. But I'd say Spain and Croatia are the top two.
Interesting. So I'm going to go Spain, Italy here. I know Italy's kind of going through this generational change and trying to figure things out, but so is Croatia. I mean, that's an aging team and how much can you really expect to get out of those guys anymore? Spain is a team, but obviously they just had Gavi. He's probably not going to be available for the Euro. He just tore his ACL. It's a team that suffered a lot of injuries. But they did just win the Nations League last summer. But they're a team that can't really score. They really struggle to score in a lot. Morata from Atletico Madrid, he's probably their best striker that they have. But I'm going to go with Spain and Italy. I think they're just going to have a little bit more quality. And I think Croatia is just getting so old. I think that generation, they're in a weird, every country has that weird bridge where it's like trying to figure out how to bring in the new guys and the old, and it usually never goes super smooth. So I got Spain and Italy, and then who do you have, Adam?
I'm gonna say the same thing because I just the reason Croatia were so good is Modric, and I just think that his age is gonna show. I don't think Albania are pushovers either. This is they're gonna have all three tough games. Italy, they're very, Italy is Italy, so they're going to have a strong defense. The question is, are they going to be able to score? So I'm going to go Spain, Italy as well.
Are these in any random order? Like the fact that Germany and Spain are at the top, is that random, or is that because they are seeded?
They're different pots. So there's different pots, and then.
Do you know what I mean?
Because playoff winner A is top of Group D, so they can't.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's. I don't think they seeded it. I think this is just random.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like in the I see what you mean.
The order that they have them.
Yeah, like the order.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about like the group. Never mind. All right, so we have Group C: Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, England. I think this is pretty easy, but go ahead, Pete.
I mean, England should go through easily, but we don't always. Serbia have got Mitrovic, and I would back them ahead of Denmark, I think. Denmark are quite an average side. I think they played above themselves in the last tournament when the one where Ericsson went down. So I would go England, Serbia, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. England, I think this is an easy group for them. Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, it is a toss-up, but you'd have to, on just pure star power, you'd have to take Serbia. If that's what you're going for, so that's what I'll do.
Yeah, England's the clear winner even if they do, they're going to win the group. But yeah, it is a toss up between Serbia and Denmark. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, I'm probably going to go Serbia as well. Even though I really want to go Denmark, but I'm probably going to go Serbia.
Oh, I would love Denmark to do well, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, we have Group D, which is playoff winner A, the Netherlands, Austria, and France. And do you have who's going to be playoff winner A at all? Adam?
I probably should have that up. Playoff A.
It's between Poland or Wales.
Oh, God, don't even. Then you should have just said that. They're not going to do anything then. I don't even care. That is kind of why I don't know them off the top of my head, though, to be honest with you, because I purposefully was like, yeah, nah.
So this is a Wales
So yeah,
team
Path A
without
is
Gareth Bale
Poland,
anymore.
Wales, Finland, and Estonia. Path B is Israel, Bosnia, Ukraine, and Iceland. And Path C is Georgia, Greece, Kazakhstan, and Luxembourg. So I don't think it's anybody we should worry about.
So with A,
Right.
it was Poland, Wales, was it Estonia and Finland, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be between Wales and Poland, but do we care either way in terms of
It's not going to make a difference.
I say Poland advances, but Netherlands, France is going to advance. I mean, they're going
they should.
to.
Yeah,
They
the
should,
top
but
two.
Netherlands are a mess as well. Netherlands will never turn up the way they should.
they're such a weird one. So, but on paper,
They always
you would
make the
think,
tournaments. They always get out of the group stage. I feel like,
at least in the World Cups.
yeah, I don't know. I don't like, ever since they got rid of Van Gaal, like what Van Gaal went on like an 18 win streak with them or something like that, and then they fired him after the World Cup, and then they went on like a losing streak. I just thought that was kind of, I don't know. But Group E, we have Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and then playoff winner B is, what was it again, Adam? You have it up? Probably irrelevant team, but
well, yeah, the other ones were more relevant.
Well, that's
Playoff
quite a
B
weak group.
Israel, Iceland, and Bosnia.
Ukraine, Iceland. Yep.
Ukraine are decent.
Probably
Ukraine. If they make it. Yeah.
Ukraine are decent. If you just get past all the current event stuff, they're a pretty solid team. They're gonna have, I guess, the one off the top of my head, I guess, is Mudryk. Mudryk and Zinchenko are the two that I'm thinking of. Zinchenko, they usually play as a midfielder because he's good enough. So they'll be a tough team to play against. I think they'd probably make it if I was going to pick the team. Man, and to get out, that's another tough one. I don't know. I'm going to go Romania. I'm going to go a weird one here. I think they've shockingly been good in the qualifying, so I'm going to give it to them. They've had some good years in past old World Cups before we were alive, but they've had their time. They can produce players.
And Belgium, I'm assuming.
Yes. Did I not say that?
You do, yeah. Okay. All right, go ahead, Pete.
I would probably say Romania too, but purely for nostalgic reasons from the 90s. Belgium have got a very aging squad as well. They're another team in transition at the moment.
Yeah.
So I would say Ukraine and Romania if Ukraine get there.
Yeah, I actually have Belgium, Ukraine. I have Belgium, Ukraine. I think even though Belgium's aging, there's still quality on that team that's just so hard to like bet against them. It is a team that never lived up to expectations, though. I mean, when you think about like Hazard, Lukaku, like everybody that was on that team, and they just fell short. Not even fell short, but just didn't even really do well at all. It's just very disappointing.
They never had the manager.
Yeah. And then we'll go to Group F, which is Turkey, Portugal, Czech Republic, and then playoff winner C, which
probably will be Greece,
Georgia, Kazakhstan, or Luxembourg. So yeah,
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Wait, whoa! Since when is Kazakhstan in UEFA?
Kazakhstan have been in UEFA for a while because there's
been there. Yeah.
too much political reasons for them. They came in with Russia, basically. I mean, Russia are there normally. Obviously, they're not right now. They're suspended, but
I feel
Kazakhstan. But they usually come bottom of the group. They've had a good year. It's their first time if they qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's say Greece.
Yeah,
Greece is most likely.
Yeah, Greece are
even though
the
Greece hasn't
to be
good as what they used to be, but
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, Luxembourg is a city, and
we've been there. We can confirm that there's not much else there.
Small city.
Yeah.
it's like San Marino.
yeah, exactly. So I'm surprised they're even in the playoff. To be honest, usually they're one of those teams like San Marino and Gibraltar that end up being last like every time. So good for them.
So who you got, Pete?
Well, Portugal-Greece will be a rematch of the 2004 finals. That'll be interesting. If
that would be nice.
I would say, I mean, Portugal definitely. I don't know a lot about Turkey, to be quite honest. So I would say Greece. I don't think Greece are that good, though. It's a tough call, that one. I'll say Portugal, Turkey.
You know the thing with Turkey's always had a lot of players, but they never really do anything in tournaments.
Yes, I would say that's accurate. They
have
end
a
up
decently
coming
strong
into
league and
tournaments. They
players?
have because they have good players. They just never really perform. They had, I believe, oh God, was it Euro 2008 or 2004? They had a really good run. They like went to the quarterfinals. And that was like one of their only years. Like one of my friends, he told me, he was like, that was like the year that like it was craziness. Like they were like shocked at how good they are. So they underperform, but at this point, like if you were to ask somebody from Turkey, they would be like, we're going to come in last. They think they're bad. So they don't rate
Greece
themselves
as well. I'm gonna go Portugal, Greece as well. And Adam, you have Portugal and
I have Portugal and Czech because I was scarred from Czech. They were in the same group as Poland, and they destroyed us both times. So, guess they're good, or we suck. It's one or the other. It's both, probably.
All right, then. Well, I say we call it a wrap on the show there. About an hour and 20 minutes in. I want to thank you guys for coming on, Melissa and Pete. It was awesome to get your guys' perspective on the Crew season and everything. It was really cool. I mean, so you guys pretty much went to every game, like you said, 14 out of 17. So
we missed 3 home games. One was because we were in England, and the other one was we had a road trip to New York, so it couldn't be avoided. But yeah, we were there for the whole ride, and we've said on our own pod a few times we felt a bit like a fraud because we've just come in for one season, swept up the lot, and walk off into the sunset kind of thing. But it's been an incredible season.
With Messi coming along, because we had the podcast before and we just decided to start it this year, and we've been working for the club. I've worked for the club for 3 years. Julian a little bit less, but still a few years. So we like made it a point, like when Messi signed, to be like, hey guys, listen, if you're coming here just because of Messi, we've been here, all right? Like we don't want anyone to think like we're just like plastic. Like we've been here. I've been here when we were really bad, nobody coming to the games. So I can understand feeling that way, but I think going to all the games though, I mean you're committing to it, so you can't.
We'll be there next year as well.
When we moved here,
be there next year.
Pete wanted to get season tickets. I was like, okay, that sounds good. Like I like watching soccer, but I was like, oh my gosh, every weekend's gonna be soccer now, and I wouldn't have changed it. It's been awesome.
It's been incredible. Right?
Yeah, it's been good to learn our city too that way.
Oh, that's cool.
And you guys are getting the tickets for the Champions Cup, I'm assuming, as well, right?
We are moving because we're expecting our first child, so we're moving back to Indiana.
Oh wow!
So we have to commute to games. So we'll be doing the weekend games, but Champions Cup it's going to be a lot of midweek.
Oh,
so we'll try and go over to one if we can. So otherwise, it's going to be MLS and no US Open Cup apparently. So MLS games only for us in the next season or two, I guess.
Well, congratulations on that. Hope everything goes smooth. And where can people find you?
New to the Crew 96 at Gmail, or we've got the same handle on Instagram. We have never advertised our podcast. It's one thing we wanted to do when we set up here was like we put one comment up on Reddit to say we're starting a podcast. We are new to Columbus Crew, and for our first season, right, we were like, let's just see. We haven't told any of our friends and family.
Kind of for us, yeah.
We've done it for ourselves, and it's grown naturally. So this is the first time we've actually advertised it outside our own pod. So that's where you can find us, and we'll be podding next year and getting to as many of the home games as we can. So yeah.
And just Spotify, right? And the social media. You don't do YouTube or nothing?
No, just Spotify and Apple Podcasts is the 2 places we put them up.
All right, great. And Adam, any final thoughts to let people out?
All I'm going to end this with is I'm glad United got bounced from the Champions League. Bye-bye.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Nice meeting you guys.
You too.